is Jackie. You probably saw me this morning already, so I'm not going to introduce myself again. So I have Joe's formal bio, and I will read it, but I just want to say, first of all, that I actually met Joe through Twitter. Sheila, several people in this room got me more involved in Twitter. I was an early signer-upper and never used it, and then I discovered the joy of it. So that's how I met him. I fell in love with him when I read his blog about taking his school council meeting to a mosque. As a parent who's in a school with a high Muslim population, I thought it was so exciting to see this really unique initiative for the school council to be reaching out into the community. So that's when I fell in love. I actually think there's good principals, there's great principals, and there's wonder principals. I've only met two in my life. One is my old high school principal, and the other one is Joe. So I am so excited to be here, as you can probably tell. Now let me actually tell you a little bit about him. The last thing on his bio is that he's the father of a baby boy. I always put that first. So he's a dad, 2 months old now. Okay, he is the principal at Knapp Elementary School in suburban Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. And he's also doing his PhD at the University of Pennsylvania, studying social media's impact on homeschool partnerships. So we have us an expert here. He also hosts a weekly parent-teacher chat online on Twitter, focused on providing educators and parents opportunities to work together on the 21st family engagement. And he also writes a blog aimed to share innovative family engagement ideas at eFace Today. I think all of his stuff is up here, so take note of it. So I hope you will all join me. I'm so thrilled to welcome Joe Mazza.
Thank you. I'm humbled to be here. Again, like Jackie said, you know, I met a lot of awesome Canadian educators and connected parents on Twitter over the last, year and a half? You know, something like that. It seems like it's been 10 years, but it really hasn't been all that long. But this is my first trip to Canada in my life, and so I'm really happy to be here. Thank you. It's a wonderful opportunity to be here and to share with you, because you know, as I got into my dissertation and when I chose the topic of utilizing you know, social media technology and family engagement, I was just looking for something that I hadn't seen a whole lot about, written about. You know, I hadn't taken many courses whatsoever in those topics. And just trying to make something that was meaningful, not only to the work at my school as an elementary K-6 principal, but in the field. Because I think there's just so much about policy, and there's so much about this and about that, but you just rarely see the things that I consider near and dear, and I'm very passionate about that family engagement piece. So in the picture behind me, is a picture of a day at school, at my school, Knapp Elementary School, and you see in this picture teachers, you see parents, you see kids having a good time, being human, being free, and this is what we try to do, not just on field day, like you see up here. You know, we try to do this throughout the day, and really connect our learning environment, and really find a way to make sure that when kids get up in the morning, they want to go to school. And when parents are talking about the school, they're talking about the school like it's the best place they've ever sent their kids. Besides their grandparents' house, of course. So anyway, I thought that picture kind of captured a lot of what we're always trying to do. And when I asked you to put on your little white piece of paper what your role is working for kids, that's what we're doing. You know, and you know this. We're not working for, you know, we're not doing this. I'm not doing this for me or for you. We're doing this for those kids at the end of the day. And you know, looking around, reading through, you know, where you're coming from. There's a lot of folks from here in Toronto, but there's people from other places, and your populations are very unique to your school. And that's one of the themes that I want to kind of come through here today. Is it's not, you know, just using this tool because this is going to be the answer to all of our challenges and problems. You know, it's a lot more work than that. It's finding the tools that work for your families. You know, and not all of your families use the tools. You know, and going green does not mean best practice family engagement. You know, that's one of the challenges we're working through in our district. You know, some folks want to just say, you know what, have them all go to this site and they can get their information there. You know, who is that good for? I think we really have to take a look at that. So just kind of framing our discussion here. And I asked you to put these, get these to me, just so I can have some kind of idea as to, where we all are at. Oh, an ESL teacher, that's great. Because I think everybody in the school plays a part in engaging families, from the custodian to the secretaries to the parents that are there. We have some parents that are frequent flyers, are there all the time. We have others that just stop in at certain times during the school day. Your administrators, your teachers. We treat our kids and our families like they're walking into a 5-star hotel every day. Every day is a new first impression for us. We have, just a little bit about our school. Jackie kind of told you who I was here. A little bit about our school. We have a very large elementary school, 600 kids. They come from 22 different languages they speak at home. Bangladesh, kids coming from Bangladesh on a Friday, they start school on Monday, no English. They come from Korea. Poverty is fairly high for a suburban school. We're the 6th largest school district in the state of Pennsylvania. It's called North Penn School District. And so we have our challenges, and we don't have a school population where everybody needs the same thing. We have the students living with their parents down the block on a 1-bedroom. There's 9 people living in that apartment. And then we have $1 million homes across the street from our school. And then everything in the middle of that. So, I'm not in a position to speak to you 6 years ago when I took over principal of Knapp Elementary School. I have learned so much just being on the job and just trying to take an inquiry-based approach to that job and really try to understand the needs of my families, my teachers, my students along the way. And, I'll go back to this. We don't receive the right amount, if any, of coursework in teacher programs or leadership programs to be prepared to meet the varying needs of families. We certainly don't receive a whole lot of technology integration. I'm a complete tech geek. That's how I know how to use technology. That's one of my personal passions. But not everybody has that passion. Some people have other passions. So as a leader, being able to utilize technology, I feel like we've been able to open up some doors that maybe weren't open before. So that's just kind of a little gist of where we're gonna go today. Get back up here. I had a clicker, but between Hurricane Sandy and here, it's not with us anymore. All right, so social media principle is what this session's called. I didn't name the session. I'm one of probably 1,000 social media principles that use social media. I'll highlight a couple of them later. Most importantly, Chris Weir and George Couros, 2 great Canadian leaders who I just had the privilege to meet a couple weeks ago in DC. But there are tons of leaders experimenting and seeing what the uses of social media are in education. Yeah, today's going to be more family engagement, but really I'm going to go into how we're using this to lead schools, because we're also planning some parent leadership and some parent education opportunities because of the social media pieces for later on in the school year. This is, does anybody know what a mystery Skype is? Awesome. This is a classroom, 5th grade classroom, and on the screen is another 5th grade classroom from Iowa. Neither of the students know where each other are. This is a social studies class. They're using their math skills to find out and ask the right questions to find out where they are. So put the silly textbook aside that we pay how much money for a year, and bring it to real free tool, Skype. And these teachers, Coach Yetter, and he's the guy in the upper right-hand corner, and the teacher that he's connected with, they connected with on Twitter using the hashtag Mystery Skype. And there you go, you can find hundreds, probably 1,000 by now, teachers that are just looking for other classrooms around the world. Now the time zones have to jive, that's sometimes tricky. But we've done Australia, we've done different countries to bring the curriculum alive. And you can look at a picture in a textbook. Great, this is where Iowa is, this is just, but to really have, you know, the real part of this is great. So they're relationship building, and this is not the first and it's not the last time that they've done this. They're doing it with other sessions now that the mystery of where they are is gone. Then they can share out different things, because before Common Core in the United States, the Iowa's 4th grade and our 5th grade curriculum kind of jived in some areas, so they can kind of work together in some stuff. So that's just an example of the power of being connected, being a connected educator, a connected parent, a connected classroom to the rest of the world. You know, your classroom doesn't need to, you know, be a classroom that has a door on it anymore. You know, basically you have windows to the rest of the world nowadays. So we had a real problem 6 years ago, and our problem was we had the same 6 or 7 Caucasian moms running our Home and School Association. And we had this conversation. It's Home and School Association, PTA, PTO, School Council. There's any number of 30 names to call this, but that's our parent group. It's called Home and School Association. And there was me coming in as a 29-year-old principal, replacing a 15-year veteran in our school, and the history was set. This is the way things are done. They were cool with that, and don't ask any questions. You know, so we have a lot of diverse families at our school. We have a lot of families that aren't 100% Caucasian and aren't moms. We have dads, we have grandparents, we have all these other caretakers that, you know, we could continue, again, because in teacher evaluations, principal evaluations, expectations, school plans, there's no pressing need or urge for you to change what you're doing. You know, no one's asking you to say, you know what, you're not representing your population at your meetings and your events, you need to change something. No one's going to say that. And I'm not sure how it is here in Ontario. I'm not sure if it's more optional and passion-based versus this is what you need to do. Does anybody want to chime in on that?
I'm all passionate. Get that. We have lots of passion, and we're moving towards having to...
Towards doing what's best for kids. Yeah.
Depends on the principal, a lot. A lot.
Family engagement deal breaker. I mean, you know, and again, I come to you today and share that I did not know how to do any of this stuff. I think we're doing some really cool things, but this is learning on the job. This is talking, this is reaching out, building relationships with parents, with teachers, and going out into the neighborhoods and getting to know folks. And yeah, this is the social media principle, this is a social media conversation, but none of that social media technology, none of those tools make a difference in the world if you don't have a relationship. No one's going to want to tune into your Twitter feed, like your Facebook page, follow your blog, leave comments, connect with you if they don't care about you as a person, as an educator, as someone that's trusting every day with the gift that they send into school. You know, Jackie shared that the most important part of the bio they shared was me being a father. And absolutely, you know, I see through a completely different lens now, being a 7-week father, fearing the day I have to send that child to school, you know, than I ever had. You know, it's completely different. And you know, I heard it. Oh, you know, yeah, you know, do you have kids? No. Oh, and then the conversation seemed to shift. Like, oh, you know, you're an okay principal. You know, but now it's just like you can have, you know, a different level of conversation. You know, your perspective has been adapted. Your compass has been changed. North, south, is east, west now. But anyway. The problems of the lack of engagement, involvement of all of our stakeholders. This is a shared problem. Getting it out to our families, me standing up in a meeting and saying, I have to say this, I have to share with you that this is great, you are all so passionate, I'm so glad that you're here, and again, remember, I'm talking to 8 or 9 people here. But this isn't our kids, and my job is to do what's best for all of our kids, not just the gifted kids, or the kids that, your kids, you know. And it's that relinquishing of power, of whatever you want to call it, sharing the problem and really getting others invested in the problem. And getting the right folks on the boat, too. You know, the folks that I had in my Home and School Association were, again, very passionate, gave tons and tons and tons of hours to the school, but were they invested for all of the kids? Were they on the same page with me? The first couple of years, I'm not sure. The last couple of years, though, things have really changed. I have a home and school association right now that is working around the clock to reach out. They're going out in the car line, walking the car line, greeting people, talking to them about events, asking how can you help us, as opposed to if you can attend this or that. And I think that's really important. We're going to talk a little bit about a mosque visit. We had our home and school meeting at our local mosque a little bit later on in the presentation here. So shared is the key word today. We have to share, we have to be collaborative. It's up to, like you said, the principal, it's up to the leader to open these doors, you know, to share out, to be collaborative. Because if I am not on board, then a lot of what we're talking about, a lot of what we can do is it's very limited. Okay, yes?
I have a question, like, how did you get over the fear factor? Because I think when you have new technology, the biggest hurdle is fear. Like, oh my gosh, they're gonna go nuts and they're gonna do bad things. So how do you get over the fear?
And again, I think I'm trying to paint a picture of investing in the face-to-face relationship. We haven't even started about talking about technology yet today, because it wasn't the first year or two that we really got into the technology. It was just really focusing on what are our core values. You know, Henderson and Matt, 2006, I got them a couple slides later. It's that equal partners. It's that school is in a position to open the doors for family engagement, especially the school leader. You know, it's going back to those core values, because no matter what we do, no matter what tools we use, if we don't have the right core values in place, you know, it's plastic, it's artificial, it's not real, it's not something you can build a relationship on.
You talk about the principals being pivotal to, you know, relationship management, but I find sometimes it's that front face of the school, that secretarial, the administrative person that can either make or break relationships. Do you go down that route at all to make sure that they're a good greeter, I guess, for the school?
Great question. It's a great question. You know, you start with soliciting feedback, whether it's a survey, it's face-to-face, it's informal, it's formal, it's a variety of ways, but again, making sense to your families. Some do it on SurveyMonkey if you have a good percentage online, otherwise you do hard copies, you know, as well. And you share that information together. You know, you bring your secretaries in, your custodians in, all the different things, and you share that out, and then you share it with the families in the newsletter. You know, this is what, we own this. We're okay that, you know, I had a secretary, I called in my child sick, and she gave me a hard time that I was calling at 8:30. You know, that's, I know school starts at 8:35. You know what I mean? We need to understand and hear what you consider to be, you know, not family friendly, so to speak, versus family friendly. So we can get to know you, because I think that you have to really be transparent and be okay with not hearing your school's awesome. You know, our school's only awesome to this person, but we can treat you the same way as we treat this person. It's not awesome anymore.
So just one follow-up. I mean, we have unionized positions, and it gets very tricky to manage that relationship, because you hear from some principals, well, I'm sorry, you know what, they're in the union, I mean, I know, but there's not a lot I can do, and you just have to live with it.
Okay, so I would follow, what in the union contract is, what is the crux here? What is the?
I think, you know what, I mean, I made the, you know, sort of suggestion, well, can't we move secretaries around school? So if you end up getting not a great one, you only get them for a few years, and then they kind of move, and they went, oh, no, you know, you can't do that. The union would never approve of that. And so it's, you know, the mentality here, not in all schools, but in some are like, well, if you end up getting not a great one, that's life.
And I think that's why we're all here. We're not okay with
Okay.
that. We're not okay with that. You know, and whether it's me stepping up my efforts in teacher evaluation, staff evaluation, putting the right structures in place, getting someone to a certain conference, pulling someone for a sub one day and working with them all day. I mean, if the principal is working with the secretary or another staff member all day, and you've invested that time because you know it's important, and your school and your families depend on it, you know, just thinking outside the box and going back again to the relationship, whether it's principal to teacher, teacher to parent, you know, and I care about you and I care about these kids, and we have to care. You know, you have to treat these kids as if they're your own. Going back to my son, you know, I want to treat these kids like they're my kids. They're all gifts of someone coming into our school. So, you know, these are the key terms. It's when working with parents, not at them, not to them, two-way communication, not one way. We used to just broadcast everything out. You know what I mean? Throw as much as you can at the easel, and hopefully something will stick. But, according to, Joyce Epstein, type 2 communication. Joyce, I'm very fortunate, she's on my dissertation committee. I'm bouncing a lot of the things that I'm doing with my research off of her, and her research is fabulous. Two-way communication, that's what it says. That's what works. Not one way, two-way. I talk to you, you talk to me, we start and we continue and we develop that relationship because the kids are the ones that benefit. So using social media tools, as we'll get to, they allow for two-way communication. They allow for two-way communication. And our adults, we're responsible for setting the bar and role modeling how to use them effectively. Because we can have all the trainings in the world, and we've had tons of trainings. They're ongoing. But we have to behave appropriately. We have to role model digital citizenship for students, for parents, for teachers, for administrators, for people at the Department of Education, for everybody. I think people are really, really lurking right now. I think the world is lurking. Because Facebook came out, there wasn't a whole lot of rules, it went south. It went north in some places, but it went south in other places. So I feel like social media and education is like, ooh, is that okay? Are we doing something wrong? Well, it didn't start off on the right foot. Now there's more and more schools able to do it. And we're still high policy. We're not allowed to have a Facebook, it's the home and schools. They'll link up to our Twitter feed, so whatever I tweet out from the classrooms, they'll get it, because they've got it linked up, which is great, gets into their news feeds. But, it's really, we don't, a lot of the social media policies are written by attorneys. And we had this class session. They're not written on what's best for kids, they're written by attorneys. We have to look at that. We have to look at that. Okay, so again, going back to not a whole lot of participation, we had some problems. What can we possibly do? Let's dig deep, find our passions, our
Better
strengths.
chairs, get rid of those chairs. Those are not
Bad
mom-friendly
chairs.
chairs.
Yeah.
At least not this mom-friendly.
Or that cheers either.
So, Eric Scheninger. Anybody heard of Eric Scheninger? He's principal Twitter. If you want to, that's the man. He was on the cover of Scholastic magazine like last year, year before. I've had a chance to meet him a couple times. ASCD actually just presented with him a couple weeks ago on a webinar. But Eric Scheninger, for a lot of us, gave us an opportunity to do social media. He put it on Scholastic, and a lot of traditional minds and districts read Scholastic. They get the Administrator magazine. That opened doors for us. It opened doors for me. I said, you know what? Let's see what this could do. So I read and I clicked, a couple more clicks, I followed some people, I followed TVO parents, all these other things. It's like, wow, there's just an explosion of information that's happening out there right now. And it's like drinking water from a fire hose. It's impossible to get it all. It is, it's impossible. Don't if you're gonna, after this session, if you're gonna go sign up for Twitter, slow. Go slow. And the good things always come back, so you don't have to worry about missing something. But anyway, I read Eric's book, and in his book he talked about how many people are actually using Twitter nowadays. And this data, I think, is, it's old now. It's 2011. I'm sure there's a lot more. But 460,000 Twitter signups. And Twitter is much more complex than Facebook if you don't have Twitter. It's a different animal. And if there's 500,000 people signing up a day on Twitter, and 70% of these people are really 18 to 35, a good population of my elementary families, of my elementary parents, then guess what? There's some opportunity there. So when I read this stat and I dug deeper, and then we've done tech surveys at our school to confirm this for us, because you have to confirm it in your own population. You have to, and then utilize that to push it back out. Share it out with your teachers, with your administrators, with your board of education, with your parent groups. This is why we're doing this, because your data, you're telling me that there are folks that will take advantage of this, okay? So again, Pew Internet, if that's another thing that we follow on Twitter, but that website, they have a ton of different data points that are very important. So where would you begin? There's a gazillion different social media tools. It's very overwhelming, and I don't know what 99% of these things even mean up here. But this is social media here in 2012.
You don't follow them all?
No. I am married.
Oh, so you quit using some of them.
Without technology. without that. It's not about the tool. It's not about the social media. They're all going to be changing and continue to change throughout our lives. But again, it's investing in the relationship, investing in getting to know, stepping out, walking parents out. I relocated my school office this year from inside, called it like the Oval Office kind of approach, and take that out. I took that out because why should people have to get in line, reschedule all these things to meet with me?
Get past your secretary.
You know? Why? I'm not the president, I'm the principal, I'm the lead learner. I'm the collaborator of the building. You know, I'm not behind closed doors. I hate that term. Oh, he or she is behind closed doors. Maybe they'll get back to you the next day. You know, it's not about that, and that does not breed family engagement. It does not breed a love of coming into school and being approachable and all those different kinds of things. So I'm out in the hallway now. I'm in my office, but I'm in the hallway. My door is to the hallway, the front door. So if you talk about that secretary you're talking about, so it's like you come in the front doors, you have the secretary and the office right here, and then my door is right here next to it. And you have like nurse and other things right here. It's the big lobby. But people can come right in and say, hey, how you doing? Sit down, talk. I learned that from Chris Lehman. Chris Lehman, if you follow Chris Lehman, he was one of the 3 principals I've studied in my dissertation. He's the principal at the Philadelphia Science Leadership Academy. This guy gets it. He doesn't change his life or his role because he's at school. You can tell he's a relationship builder. You can tell he cares about kids and parents and families. And he wants to find everybody's strengths so he can help the kid the most. Okay, so again, I don't think anything I'm presenting to you today is original in my idea. It's all things that because I'm connected, because I'm constantly learning on Twitter, online, on blogs, that I'm able to pick and pull and steal ideas from other people and try to figure out how they might work in my school after I shared them with my staff or my families. Do you have a
I
question,
just
Jim?
love that, Joe, that you're out there with the people, with the students, with the family. You're really ready to engage with them and not hiding behind some closed door.
You know how they say the less clicks on a website, the better?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The less steps that I have to make my parents go through, or hoops to jump through to talk to me.
I love it.
You know,
Great.
it's just, it makes sense, and we
Great.
see the reward for the kids immediately. You know, and again, I get this all the time, like, oh, when I was in school, we never saw the principal, this and that. Well, that school has evolved now. That school is no longer that school. You know, the needs of our families are much different. You know, the needs of our schools are much different too. I wish the policymakers in my country would understand that. You know, but you know, again, I can't say this enough that the meaning of this session is really social media can complement our face-to-face relationships with parents. I failed to say this. This whole presentation is available on SlideShare. I put it up on my blog today, so you can get the entire presentation as well as hyperlinks like this one at the bottom. It says supporting posts. I went and linked up any posts that I've written about all these things about the particular slide, and you can kind of click and share that as you need to. I did that because I was like, all right, we're going to run out of time today, and I'm going to feel bad about it, so at least you have something to go to if we don't get through everything. But this is the home button. You know, we have, how many people have an iPhone? Or a button where the one button on it is like your home key. You hit it all the time, you hit it all day, right? And again, we have to keep going back to that face-to-face, the face-to-face, you know, and don't lose track of that face-to-face. There are so many tools, there are going to be so many more tools as we get older and we move through our careers, but we have to always invest in that face-to-face, eye contact, empathy, tone, and value that, you know, because that can get lost. And those folks that say, hey, you know, I'm looking for a tool to really cover my communication or cover this. It's just, again, it's not about the tool. You know, it's not about the tool. Those that come into family engagement thinking that there's going to be a solution, a magic bullet like that, don't get it. You know, they don't have those core values in place. Okay, so going back to Twitter, these are like the people that I followed in the very beginning. I went back to all the way to the bottom of the people that I followed. And these were like the top 10, 15 people. You see some, yeah, Sheila's on there. Yeah, Sheila's in there.
Oh, I didn't
See that?
Exactly.
Chris Ware, George Koros, Dean Charest. There's Canadians and Americans on here. Anybody? No, not from any other countries that I know of up there. But you know, these are people that I look at and I see them as staff members in my building. I think of them as these are minds that aren't physically present, but they're virtually present in areas of my school. So this is a commercial on why to be a connected parent or a connected educator, okay? Because each of these people have different strengths and different passions and different skills that they can share with you, and they're willing to share. If I sent a tweet to anybody on here right now, I guarantee by the time we got out of here, I'd have 4 or 5 or 6 other responses on ideas, answers to questions. So again, if you're going to go the social media route, start with Twitter, because Twitter opens up the gates to other blogs and other sites and other resources that you may or may not be seeing right now. We get the ASCD, Educational Leadership magazine at our school. By the time that gets to my office, and I just got one last week, those articles are stale. They came out 3 or 4 months ago. I've read them already. That's the piece. It's just like, you know, that's what really showed me like, wow. You know, and I consider as a building leader, it's my job to be ahead of it. My job is to get it first and to get it to the people that need to be exposed to that and to bring it in the professional, you know, PLC meetings and parent council meetings and whatnot. So again, this is, again, they're all on the presentation. These are great people. There's principals, there's parents up here, there's teachers, retired teachers. Jerry Blumengarten is a retired teacher from New York. And he just finds and shares resources all day long. He's got like the Google for Educators website. So he's shaking your head at me.
He's everywhere.
He is. And multiple people. Chris Smeaton is a superintendent, Holy Spirit schools up here in Canada as well. Multiple of these people have Skyped into my staff meetings, my parent meetings, you know, and they're willing to share from their lens. So we trained the superintendent and the district technology director and other people in our school. We bring their lenses in. You're like, how do I get people to understand and harness this and really get it? You know, you bring people that are in like positions of those people and you have them Skype in and talk to them. You bring them right to that meeting. Again, if you're not connected, you don't have those opportunities.
Joe, you put this on your blog?
Yes, the efacetoday.blogspot is the top blog post right now up there.
Joe, sorry, do you just blog as yourself, or do you do it on behalf of your school as well? Like would Joe Mazza give you information about your school, or do you separate that out? You as a principal from you
Formally,
as
it's separated. We have I have a link to a family engagement wiki that we have, and our teachers and parents and myself, we update it ongoing. Another thing that's a good. We write all of our newsletters together. You know, we use a Google Doc, and you know the parents and I will share that doc, and there's a deadline, and that's when we're done every month, and so we're constantly on the same page, physically, virtually, and doing things together in partnership. And I think that's really important to try and blur those lines between home and school. Yeah.
Do you send it out hard copy?
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
do it
We have.
electronically as well?
Yes. We have 93% of our families, even with the poverty and whatnot, we have 93% of our families that access communications by cell phone, laptop, iPad, you name it. But that's 7% of 600 kids is substantial. Yes, every one of those kids gets hard copy. Whenever we send something out, we send it hard copy to them. There are HCPs. We have a list. It's a confidential list in the office. Our secretary, one of her roles is to make sure the HCPs get served within 24 hours of the time that we send the electronic copy. You have to account for those 7%. Who are those 7%? You know what I mean? Look at those names. Who are those? Are those kids that you're working on this skill, that skill academically? Are those kids that are tardy absent all the time? Like, you know, you can really tell from that 7% for us. And it could be 20 or 10 or 2% for you all, but it's really important to look through that list and constantly, you know, maybe you can reduce that to 5 by the end of the year. Maybe they just weren't at the meeting to sign up and whatnot. We try to do all this at back to school night when we have the most amount of parents in the room face to face. Yes?
The 93% sounds incredibly high to me. We live in a busy sort of middle-class neighborhood in the city, very diverse population in our school, and I would say that maybe 40 to 50% of and we really try and engage electronically. So how did that become so high, or do you think that's the norm? Because I know it's not the norm for a lot of schools in our school families.
Right.
So I'm just interested in that.
Well, cell phones have made a huge difference.
Yeah,
We try to send everything electronically mobile friendly, because it's different if you send a PDF, that's not very mobile friendly. But if what you're sending is mobile friendly, it shows up on their phone and they're able to read it and scroll.
Yeah.
That's a piece, because I think cell phones have taken our internet access up. That's one big piece that I've noticed. Now these numbers have gone up probably 4 or 5% a year over the last 5 years. You know, we worked, you know, closer to that as well. But I think if I'm in your school, I'm trying to think, what do we have to stand on that shows us that that number is in fact what it is, and other, you know, questions 2, 3, 4. What are you using? What is your preferred? Is it lack of access? Is it spotty service? Is it I don't have a cell phone? You know, really digging into that. You know, I think that's because, you know, we're middle class, but we're very low income, and then we're all over the map. You know, with that. And you know, I was just as shocked when I saw 93 as you.
Is
Yeah.
astronomically
Yeah.
high.
There's also public libraries that you can have access. There's more and more in our city in Windsor, there's open hubs for internet access through stores, even like through Tim Hortons,
Right.
coffee shops, those kind of things.
Right, but that's a great point. There are options out there. You can walk to the library, you can go to these places. But do they care about going to get the communications from your school? Are you putting out good, are you making the connection so they're gonna wanna get that, or is it just like another thing?
Yeah.
Is it spam? Are they spamming the, you know what I'm saying? I mean, we have, and again, I'm biased. I love my school. I feel like my community loves our school. We've worked hard at it together. But the thing that tells me the most that we have a good school is that I had kids out for 3 days from Hurricane Sandy, and they came in on Thursday and Friday saying, man, I was just so bummed I couldn't come to school. You know, and that's when you really get it, and you really like, you know, you take a step back and you're like, they like being here, and they like interacting with teachers and with parents and with, you know, custodians and with secretaries and with me. You know, that's when you know that you have a good thing going. You know, and yeah, go ahead.
Just wanted to emphasize what you just said about sending good information. It's one of the keys in getting people to share their email address and contacts with you, is that you're sending them useful information. Like you said, you're not spamming them and showering them with 25 messages a day. You're sending them good stuff.
Right, right. Training. So this slide basically, we talked about this already. You know, the pieces in our preparation, whether parent leadership preparation, teacher preparation, leadership preparation. You know, we don't see a lot of these things. We don't see a lot of meat on the coursework or on the syllabus or in programs that say these are things that we need to really be looking at, because these can really help kids and help school communities become together. So when I started writing this blog, I guess it's maybe a year and a half ago, that was my focus. You know, try and take some of the things I'm working through the University of Pennsylvania with, and you know, you read tons of different, you know, studies and lit reviews, and then you're left with a small part that you can use, but there's a lot of other stuff. So I just kind of been using that to kind of, what did this article make me think about? And then on the blog, I'll just kind of put innovative ideas for teachers and parent groups and principals. So, and it really has to do with these things, because they're not written a lot, you know, and it's just a big gap for us. Yes?
Can I just ask, in your, like where you're at in your school, for instance, do you have a lot of families that don't have the English language because they're coming from, like, wherever they're coming from? And what do you do in the States to help those people? Like, I know we have, like, the immigration services, we have interpreters, a lot of parents, because I'm a parent, I'm a PIC,
Yeah.
and I offer that in the schools that I work with. But how much?
It's hard. It's hard work. You know, I never feel like we're doing enough for our second language families. I speak Spanish, but that helps me with like 2.5% of my families. So that's as far as I can go. We use something called the language line. I'm sure if you, it's an 800 number. It's a live interpreter on the other end. We have a conference with someone, whether it's over the phone or it's in person. We set the language line up. You know, Bengali, Korean, whatnot, and we use the language line. And it's cost though, it's not free. It's the district-wide. It's a district-wide piece, so we use that language line. The other piece, which is more powerful, is obviously as you get to know, and we have relationship built with some of these families now, they come in and volunteer to do this for free. And it's a lot more meaningful if you can get a parent who's gone through the same challenges, who maybe has been here for 5 years, their English has really grown, and you've helped them, they've helped you to kind of take this on. This reminds me, we have every new family comes in. Not only do we get all their information immediately and get it in the system, but we also partner them up with another parent, the homeroom parent. And then if they're on the internet, an email goes to that homeroom parent, that new family, me, guidance counselor, whatnot, all these people to welcome them and give them the resources that we've been using. So we kind of have a buddy system with new families because we get a lot. We get probably 40, 50 new families, and I'm not talking about the new kindergartners, a year, in our school. So it's constantly, go back to that 5-star treatment, that first impression. Every day is another opportunity to create that first impression. So getting back to the research on family engagement, there's a ton out there. If you want to take a look at your school and say, are we meeting all the different components for family engagement? You have plenty of people to go through, and again, each one of their websites and their resources are linked up underneath their names up there. If you go back to the presentation later. Joyce Epstein has always been the family engagement guru in my mind. There's a lot of others, but she really, for me, I like structure, parenting, communicating, volunteering, learning at home, decision making, and collaborating with community. When we took a look, and I basically gave this to all of my home and school members, and I said, what are we doing well, what are we not doing at all? And basically had them rank them and really take a look at, because they were like, oh, I didn't even know that this was family engagement. What does family engagement really mean? Parent involvement? And then we had that whole conversation. So again, it's building capacity of the research, building capacity of what are the best schools in the country and in the world doing to help their families. So for them, I feel like that was a really powerful home and school meeting that we had to really just talk about the research and talk about what's best for kids, says the experts. Okay, so being transparent in that. This shouldn't be a secret. If you want parents to help you, they need to know where they need to be helped. They need to know where you're going, what the vision is. So I think, and again, this is the link to this page here. I think Joyce has done a great job over the years with that. But guess what? Going back to this, I have Joyce Epstein's 2011 summary of all the research she's done in the last 30, 40 years. Anybody have that book? You have that? You can't find the word technology in the index. But that's where we are right now. And that's where we are. So a lot of that book, you could probably have like a little running line at the bottom, e-face opportunity. Technology. So that's where my passion, that's where my focus is. I think that we're at a point now where we can start to look at that. And again, not replace these things, but complement these things. How can you get this accomplished in a number of ways according to the needs of your families? Not mine, not yours, but your families. And everybody's different. This year we literally rolled out the red carpet for our families at back to school night. We had a red carpet coming out the front door. We wanted them to know that again, refocusing, continuing to go back to the mission. It's not just hey, we said we want to do family engagement 3 years ago and we're still doing it in case you didn't know. No, we care, and we're continuing to show you in different ways how much we care and how valued you are. But these core values, I have these hanging up in my office. Not just for a reminder to me, but for teachers, for parents, for kids, to continue to see. And these are important, and it's every one of the 4. And if you're missing on one of those, then again, your efforts are going to be very limited in what you can do. And do I believe that every one of the upper administration of my district believes in this? It's just not, it's not true. It's not realistic right now. But I can control what I do. So we just had this conversation on Twitter last week. If you're worried about the person down the hallway and if they're going to approve of what you're doing, what's best for kids? You got to go back to what's best for kids. If you're in a school in a leadership position or a parent position, you have a great opportunity to do these things. And you lead by example, and you really build the capacity with others, and you show them. That's what I like about this instantaneous feedback on social media. We have an evening event, I go home, and I look at the tweets that are coming from parents coming home from the event. they're PRing it and how valuable it was immediately, you know. Now there's another side to that too, right? If you blew it, I mean, we've been fortunate enough that we haven't, I guess, blown it yet. We've sent over 2,000, maybe 3,000 tweets. There's a slide coming up on the thing, and we have never had a single problem. We have never had a single, you know, this was terrible, why'd you do that, or your school sucks, or you know, this is, you know, Joe Mazza just wants to be the Secretary of Education, that's why he's doing all. No, it's not about that. People are looking at this as a communication, instant communication, to really feel like they're part of the school and really have the pulse of the school. So I know someone was going to ask about, so what are the repercussions? Have you had any problems? We haven't had any yet. You know, and again, this is our second full year now that we're using social media tools. And again, limited, you know, blogs and Twitter, the home of schools, the Facebook piece, but you know, we haven't had a single incident where I had to delete anything, I had any other problems. You know, spam-wise, you have to make a good password with upper or lowercase numbers. That's with anything on the internet today. But you know, aside from having to change your password every once in a while, that's it. This is an article on Parent Involvement Matters by Karen Mapp and Ann Henderson. If you haven't read that article, that is a really good one. It talks about the core values, and it really kind of sets you up for, are you ready? Are you ready to have that partnership? Do you have things in place? Yes?
I think what you're saying though with the, you know, you get home and you get the tweets. I think in this day and age, our parents are so busy doing so many things that the more instant the gratification and the more instant the, not gratification, but the validation of something they have done will make them more apt to do something again. And rather, you know, it's like a play on Broadway, and they gotta, you know, the next day they gotta see what the reviews are. With the Twitter and that, they're getting the reviews like, you know, they don't have to wait for somebody to write it down. They're writing it down as they go. And I think that's a real way to bring people into it too, because they can see right away. And, you know, like everybody wants to know they've done well. So it's, you know, I think that's probably why you're getting so many people following you as well, is because they're feeling that they can get some sort of a validation from it as well.
You know, when you get that tweet as, hey, I just left the new family night, really excited to go to school, like, boom, yeah, we'll retweet that, and we'll put, you know, glad you were here, call us, you know, stop by, and all these different, so with every tweet, it's another opportunity to kind of continue to raise the bar. You know, again, thinking 5-star hotel, thinking, you know, I want to meet your needs, and that meeting those needs looks so different between one family and another. I can't even describe for you what that means. You know, it could be taking a colleague and going out to the home and meeting them and understanding their needs to try and give them better, you know, more well-designed resources. Or it could be just simply offering a text line. That's something new we have this year. We have a Google text line, where instead of calling and getting the automated system, you know, they can text if they have a quick question or they want to report a kid it's going to be late or this and that. Again, it's meeting them where they are. Google Voice is free. It's not a tool that we need to pay for. You know, you can put on your iPad, put on your phone, put on your laptop. You can do those different things. Yes?
Is it just you that deals with the Twitter account, or do you have other
Yes.
staff? So how much time
I have the Knapp Elementary Twitter feed. My staff members, we've had 3 staff trainings, we've had 2 parent trainings so far, and again, they're ongoing every couple months. We're going to have more, you know, we have more trainings. They are tweeting from their classrooms.
Okay.
So a lot of what I do during the day is retweet.
Okay.
I have a couple slides coming up about how cool it was when I really saw the from a parent's lens, I guess, because when the kids go on a field trip and you have a bunch of parents and a bunch of teachers tweeting what they're learning and what they're sharing, I'm sitting there dealing with everything else in the school with the other 500 kids that are not on the field trip, but I'm still on the field trip. But that's what I saw from the lens of a parent that day. You know, and that's powerful. All right, so the gist of this FACE, and I like family and community engagement, face-to-face, continue to go back to this. I can't stress it enough. There's acronyms like, you know, of course I'm drawing a blank. There's a million acronyms for family engagement, right? Parent involvement, all these different things, but I like FACE. Adding the E is what we're talking about today, and talking about these tools, but still keeping the FACE, again, going back to that home button, going back to what we need to do. And the research, when I said there was no technology in the back of Epstein's book, I looked at the research on family engagement and use of technology, and this is what I found. I found fax machine, voicemail, PA system, email. It's a big black hole right now. You know, however, I think it's changing. I think we're going to be able to change that. I think, you know, I'm doing some research. I know some of my colleagues that have just started. I'm in the year 3 of the program. Those people are in year 1, year 2. I see them looking at some topics that are, you know, along some of the same lines. But I think that's important to know that I had to go through the health field and look at physician-patient relationships to find out what and how they were using social media to connect. You know, and I think that that's, you know, where sometimes we fall short is we don't look at other fields. We don't look and see what people are doing down the road in a different family engagement, you know, lens. So, what is the impact of social media tools like Facebook, blogs, Twitter on homeschool partnerships? That's really the question that I'm doing my research on. I'm interviewing 3 different principals. Also done all the interviews, so I have all the data. I'm just kind of getting together to make sense so I can share it out with all of you in the next couple of months. But just triangulating, taking a look at what's actually online. What are the parents saying works? What are the principals saying works? And then you're really kind of describing this, because I think that there's a lot of piecemeal going on in the world. There's a lot of, we're doing this, we're doing this, we're doing that, but what actually works? And you know, what's coming out of the research is the relationship piece. And schools that are just choosing to use these tools without having the core values, without making that face-to-face eye contact and spending that time and those resources, they're not meeting with a lot of success. I'm finding in interview results that, you know, I think it's great that our principals connected, but I don't know what that means. I don't know how to use this technology yet. We've never had a training, you know. And then there's other ones that's just like, well, it was great when the school made a Facebook because that was easy for me because I'm already on Facebook and I could see the alerts during the day, or I said, what do you work that you can do Facebook all day? And all these other things. So it kind of, again, meeting them where they are. Where are they? Find your parents. Where are they? Online, in person. The days of expecting 100% attendance at everything, you know, are gone. You know, parents are working more jobs. The hours are different. You know, did you see that Verizon wireless commercial where they had set up a hotspot in front of the concert? Anybody see that?
We're in Canada.
Yeah.
There's no Verizon up here. I was just saying, there's no Verizon? Okay.
There is Verizon, it's just your commercials take about 2 years to get to us. It's a long way across the border.
Well, it's on YouTube. So. But anyway, it was concert. Kids up there with a trumpet, and he's on the stage, and in the front row you see 3 empty seats.
Oh, I saw it, yeah.
Yes.
I'm
I'm going to start with a hotspot. You're like, yeah, okay. And there's the iPads, and they come up, and there's pictures of the dad who's sitting at work, and the grandma who's sitting with grandpa at home. And the days, and it looks like, oh, geez, look at that, haha, like Verizon's so cutting edge. We can all do that. It doesn't cost anything. If you have a wireless in your school, that is, you know, there's some that don't, some that do now, but there's ways to do that. So streaming events, you know, even if you only get 10 or 15 parents to tune into that event, what are you doing for those parents? How appreciative? Are you building a relationship with them because you're going the extra mile? You took 20 minutes to set up to reach those 10 or 15? Like, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about going the extra mile, opening up the doors, thinking about outside the box things that we can do and accomplish for those parents. So I think that commercial hits a mark on an area. I'm not sure it was designed for that. I think it was designed to sell Verizon products. But you don't have to have a Verizon product to do that.
I'd like to do that at my school, be able to stream assemblies and everything, but you have to get around administration allowing you to get permission from families and the kids that are in there to be able to.
Great point. Great point. Do you all have a photo release form that you send out?
I do.
We use the same thing for Twitter. We don't change anything. We don't change our acceptable use policy. You know, the way you behave online should be the way you behave if I'm sitting across the table from you.
Yes.
right? And if you're taking pictures and you're not allowed to have them on the newspaper, then I'm gonna use the same format and policy and rules as if I'm tweeting, if I'm sending pictures.
And in the same boat too, how do you work around families that are coming to visit that aren't part of the school community, but they're families, and being able to still videotape without offending anyone?
You announce it before you turn the video on,
Yeah.
that anyone present will be,
Yeah.
that yes, we are live streaming for those parents who can't be here today.
Okay.
If you don't want to be part of the stream, please sit in the back 3 rows.
We call it negative option billing.
Oh, you must be a Rogers customer.
But again, if you're going back to, this is a fun school, the picture that we started with today, you're not gonna wanna be out, you're gonna wanna be in. You're gonna wanna be a part of it, you know? You're not gonna be caught up in the fuzz and all the, well, what about this, and what about this, and hang on a second, I need to check my attorney on it. You're gonna be, we want kids to have an enjoyable experience, we want them to be kids, and we want parents and teachers to feel like they're helping each other.
You want school to be fun?
Do you deal with any high school level schools? Because you see, my kids are on Bolton High School, and the relationship, I agree, is a key. But when you get to the principal part of the high school, you don't have that one-on-one with the staff and the principal as much as you do at the elementary level. At least that has been my experience. And like where I'm at right now, our principal is not as approachable as a lot of principals. The other thing is, we did try to start email this year, and then the principal said, well, it's not really working because we're getting a lot of people have changed emails. Like, how did you forge through to get to the point where you're at now? Like, how long did it take?
How long have you got?
How long do we have?
Yeah.
You know,
Do we just keep forging through,
are we being part of the problem, or are we being part of the solution? You know, and are these excuses, or are these decisions built upon research and what's best for kids? And going back to the core values. You know, all these, like that can go right back into that, number 4. You know, if you're not really invested, then of course you're gonna shut this down. You know, but we had Gmail for the first 4 years. Yes, we had families move out, we had some spam come in. It was really kind of one way, because to get 2-way with all the spam was really hard to figure out. So we've gone to this new system. It's called zipslip.com, ZIPPSLIP. I'm going to fast forward to the slide with the menu of things here. Okay. These are like all the e-face things that we offer right now, and this is not 2012. Here they are, Erica. This was like, you start with this, and you continue to go with this, and then you add this. You know, you talk about these things, and you introduce them at meetings, and you utilize them during the meeting so people can see how things happen. But, you know, if the principal's not on board, it's very difficult. It is very, very difficult. You know, and again, it's not an evaluated measure for me. And probably for that principal you're talking about either. Are they assessed like they are with test scores? Like they are with, you know, anything else? Like it's not on this. It's not on the front burner. Bottom line, we need this. The people in this room that are passionate about this, we need to bring it to the front burner. You know, if not us, then who? You know, so that's why I love social media, because we can put examples of how this is working in schools out there. So maybe we can transition it to the front burner and show that it is working. What do they want to say? I presented at the Department of Education in April. And I sat in there with a couple of Arnie Duncan's family engagement staffers. And I talked to them about some of these tools. And they're like, yeah, this is great, Joe, good job, you're doing a good job, go back. But how is it improving test scores? That's what's important to our policymakers. You know, I don't know a whole lot about, you know, what's happening up here, but if you are assessing on strategies, on relationship building, isn't that what kids need to be successful in this world, in the job market, in life? To develop a family is to build strong relationships. So really, we're just trying to role model and provide opportunities for them to be successful, not only our kids, but our parents and our teachers and whatnot. And it all factors in, you know, because if you don't have these things, you just have test scores and test prep. You know, and that's a whole other session and a whole other thing.
I
Yes,
think you
yes.
need to check some of the Ontario Ministry of Education stuff, because they have done studies here about how much the test scores go up when you have engaged parents. So there's something for
Those
you to throw back
researchers,
at
that's,
them.
yeah, it's everywhere.
Yeah.
But that's, if they knew that and they were invested and they read the research and they did their homework, they wouldn't be asking me that question.
Right.
You know, so that's, I don't wanna say an insult, but it's just like, they don't get it. You know, and again, going back to social media, we all have an opportunity to share what's working. You know, in a public forum, in a transparent, collaborative way that before, unless you got that journal, or you picked up that article, or you this or that, or you're at that session in that conference, you would have seen it. But now, again, nothing here is private. Anybody could be on the other end of his camera or on a tweet that you're sending out up here and get this immediately. You know, and then that's what we have to do. It's sharing.
But that's part of the problem, isn't it?
What's that?
Part of the problem is that it's moving so quickly. And a lot of us who are older and the gray hairs are trying to deal with the media and issues that we don't really understand. And the less we understand, the less control we have. And I think that's what you run head on into. And I watch because I get it completely and I support it. But I watch in my schools where you have older teachers and there's a gap. There's nothing's happening between us and them. And we're not helping to break down those barriers. And I think those barriers are not that hard to break down, but it needs somebody who sits down with, Miss Jones, who's now in her 35th year of teaching, and show her how to send an email. And show her that the machine isn't gonna blow up, and then she,
Building capacity.
Yeah.
Building capacity. You know, going back to the slides of where's the technology integration training for teachers, principals, parents, and making that time and letting parents know that we're going to build that time in because we know that you need it in different times, and this is what we're using. So we're not just doing technology on this is cool. This is how you can help your child. This is how you can support your child at home. And using teachers, using parents that have already been in those trainings to teach the sessions along with me. You know, and it's a slow process, it's not going to happen overnight, but you have to continue to provide.
But the difference is that you are a principal who gets it and supports it, and so the opportunities in your school are really wide open. Talk about a principal who doesn't get it and doesn't really see the value, and now you're telling me that I've got to put training time in for this stuff when I want to teach, when I want to do some training on let's get our mathematics scores up.
Right.
So again, you've got a capacity problem that I don't think you can address.
Right,
that
because there's
easily.
no baseline
That's right.
out there.
And there's nobody who, if the principal doesn't do it, and the superintendent doesn't do it, and the trustee isn't going to push it, then everybody in that school who'd like to has very little opportunity
Right.
to.
Right. It's a great point.
So, in the school my daughter's in grade 8, in the last 6 years, we've had 5 principals. And what you've described, I think that the lack of nasty tweets probably speaks to the hard work and investment of building the face-to-face relationships before the social media doors were open. I don't know, but I'm guessing that that's probably the case. And I'm thinking that if you were the principal at my school, after about 4 or 5 years, someone would be sure to pluck you up to go fix up some other school. And it's really a challenge for the parents who say, let's get smartboard training for our teachers. There's a smartboard we've fundraised thousands of dollars for, parked in the back of the French classroom facing the wall, because no one knows how to use it. And so it's, as parents who are there probably for the duration of the 6 or 8 years in the school, it is so frustrating to, from our side, consistently being present and caring, to have consistently caring, maybe, leadership that changes every 9 months. And it is hard, especially without the support of a board, training the teachers outside of the parents demanding or asking or pleading or wishing that the teachers and principals would get connected this way. It's a really frustrating place to be. And you're breaking my heart here.
I'm aware that
Mine is broken.
it's coming. And I'm presenting at a couple different places this year. I'm trying to get to those traditional places where the minds are very 1950, 1960 policy. You know what I'm saying?
I do.
Because there's some folks that are slower to adapt. But again, we're using social media, and I wouldn't even know about this unless I was connected. And exposing what connected means. You know, there's an Ed Chat happening every Tuesday at 12 o'clock Eastern and 7 o'clock Eastern. That if I just put on a Twitter follow or some other broadcast thing in the lobby, in the lounge, at a principals meeting, and let people see what's being shared there, that helps too. You know, but it's change is slow. I don't know how to make change faster. You know, but again, I got to look at the needs of these administrators just like I look at the needs of the parents. Meet them where they are. Develop relationships with them. Try to open those minds somehow. But again, a lot of their roles are, how is this going to hurt our district PR-wise? And what is the attorney going to say about this? And after 6 months, if they get back to me, then you can do it. You know, but we've been busting through this, you know, for years, and we're seeing some benefits now. You know, but it takes time, and we have to continue to go back to and utilizing the parents to see, and utilizing I have some quotes from parents a little later here, what the parents feel and how this is making the school better for them and their experience. That helps. You know, I don't think that we could have done a couple things without their voice saying, we love this, don't take this away. Because it was in the paper. Last year it was in the paper like, NAP is tweeting, how do you feel about this? They made it like a thing. It was all positive stuff. It was all like
And your paper printed
this is what this does for me, this, and they're just like, oh, well, you know, maybe it's not hurting us, let's allow it. You know, but these are things that are conversations, I'm sure, not just in my place of work. Yeah.
Well, I have an example for both of you. So at our school, we, as school council, we did a survey for parents on what kind of workshops they like. So we tried to send it out email, we tried to send out a link, we tried to put it on Facebook, and of course we send the hard copy. So we get 150 surveys back. I'm not going to enter all of those by myself, so I get a team of moms to come to the school library, the computer lab, and we all sit down and we enter them. As we're entering, one of the teachers that's in a portable, they don't have Wi-Fi in there, so she comes to the computer lab and we're just talking about, you know, things that are happening. She's talking about, oh, you know, how do I build biodiversity into the curriculum? And I'm like, well, you know, there's this really cool app called Leaf Snap. You take a picture of it, it identifies the tree. And she's like, what? They do that? And I'm like, yeah, the Smithsonian, you know, they have cool apps like that. We've got 40 iPads in the school just by me having that conversation and me making sure that I do my work inside the school, whereas I could do it at home. Yeah. And it would be so much easier and so much faster when I don't have to train parents how to do data entry. But no, you know what? You build. You work, you have to do that work, you bring the parents up with you, and then you bring everybody along. And that's what you're doing. You are doing a phenomenal job, and I think that you're also teaching everybody to be a good person. And you have to start by being a good person. If you're not a good person, forget all this.
I love your passion. It's true though.
Windsor.
I just.
So I'm trying to get through the last couple
giving
here.
the technology workshop at a conference for TDSB, but they won't let her use the smart
But
board.
the high school won't give us access to the smart board because we
for
might
her to
break
give a
it.
technology workshop. I just had to say it, sorry.
But it's okay. I have a workaround.
You make it happen.
I'm going to make it
Don't
work.
give
I
up.
can.
Don't give up. All right, a couple quick things. This is something that really allows some of our parents to look in at these monthly meetings and decide, well, I can be there because it's not the secret club, whatever you want to call it, that these parents get together every month. So using this tool, anymeeting.com, it lets you kind of make your own webinar. You can use a camera, audio, video, you name it. We typically run the slides of our home and school meeting, whether it's the agendas on my report, the home and schools report, the fundraising, the dates coming up, the volunteer opportunities, the student voice group that comes, and we run it through here so the parents see that. And this is the group of parents. We have the mic in the middle. This is probably the only cost in the whole thing. Yeah, we bought a pretty good mic so we can have the sound quality be good. And that is what we see up there. That's in the middle is the presentation. On the left is like the chat bar that people can ask questions and chime in. And so this is me behind the computer just kind of running the show. And we have the meeting. The meetings went from 3 hours to 55 minutes. Because the gabbing doesn't happen because people know that we have an agenda to stick through, we're transparent, you know, and I get parents tuning in and teachers tuning in. That's the cool piece. They can tune in whether it's on their phone or they're at home, and even if they just tune in for 10 minutes and 15 minutes, they don't have to tune in for the whole time. Meeting them where they are, whether they're teachers or parents. If you want to put this together, you have to find ways to put them together. And you know, hey, thank you so much for your help at the fall festival. Boom, this was great. They're putting kudos in as we're talking about something in the meeting. The kudos continue to come in. The input continues to come in. Questions, clarifying questions. You all are welcome to tune in to any of our meetings. They're public. There's a link on our family engagement wiki. If you want to see what that looks like from the parent side, you're welcome to do that. You know, but this is the piece for us. You know, and having the numbers go up, part of people, and there's more physical people in the room. Yeah, we offer the tools, but since they've seen it and they've lurked and they see what's happening, there's more people coming into the meetings to participate because they've put their toe in the water. They're like, all right, it's not so bad. I'm gonna come into that circle. Yes.
We've already implemented this in our one school, the DSBN Academy, simply because it's a school that integrates all of the Niagara region. And the only problems I've found with it so far is that the people that are online and contributing still are being left out of the decision making. Like they'll still make decisions no matter what you've typed in. That don't necessarily deal with what you've said. So it works. It only works if the people who are there doing it take into consideration those people at home. So it has to be really strong people there to do it that want to take in everybody's.
It's got to be like a job. Like, okay, let's stop the conversation. So and so has said this, and responding to that. Like you said, valuing it whether you're here or there.
You had those 8 people or whatever, the core people, while they're still doing what they want to do, just because these other people are typing in. Even, you know, they're typing in, but they're just disregarding them. So it takes a really strong people to say, no, we're not just dealing with the 8 people that are here. We want the opinions of everybody.
It's so important. It's huge. Yeah.
You could probably put that into your bylaws or your constitution that anyone that's logged in could probably have like a proxy vote as there's an issue that has to come up. So
It wouldn't even be proxy because it's live.
Yeah, well, that they're there, but they would log in and be able to vote too as well on issues.
I want to hear this story.
This is our local mosque. This is where 77 of my students come from every day, and they go back every night. And last April, we took this meeting, and anymeeting.com, we took the homeschool meeting, and we had it there, because why do we have to have it in the library every time now? We can go other places. We can go to the YMCA, we can go down the block to the gym or the library, and we can have it at places closer to walking distance to people's homes. And so we took it to the mosque, and we had over 100 people there. And that's physical. And then we had you know, people chiming in from home. So you know, we have some parents and teachers and whatnot here, and then the men are behind, and then in the back corner, the women are peering around the wall. Okay, they're tuning in from the other side, because in the mosque there's the men's side and the women's side. And we had our meeting. And it was an opportunity not only for learning on our part, but learning on their part, and then the connections. We stayed for an hour and a half afterwards and just talked and got to know each other and built relationships. And that's a significant population of my school that if we don't reach out, I'm sorry if I'm standing right in front of you, if we don't reach out to them, then I don't know what happened in Bangladesh. I don't know what kind of education or what was acceptable, what was not. I don't know how you were engaged or not engaged. So it really gave us an opportunity to get to know them. And we need to do this more. We did it once last year, home and school. A couple years ago, we had like a back-to-school night on a Saturday. But we've already planned for one later this year to go back there. We're trying to spread the wealth. We have a high Korean population as well. So going to one of the Korean churches, broadcasting from there. Again, showing that effort that we're not going to just be okay with come if you want to. It's not optional. We need you. The kid needs you. And doing that. So, you know, really, the only prep here is just going over ahead of time, making sure the technology works, doing a run through, and they can't be more appreciative to see the school. They cannot be. I walk in there, I feel like I'm the President of the United States when I walk in there. They're just like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, this is so great. And that just, again, that shows them without saying so that we really value education here. And we want you to be prepared. We want the kids there every day and on time. We want them to have what they need, but we want to help you get there if you need something. So, yeah, it was great to have them at the meeting, but all the other things that took place around that was even better. Yes.
Could you offer that at two separate places at the same time, and have it streamed both? Like, say, like at a mosque and at a Catholic church, kind of thing, where you could integrate it and have it streamed.
Because it's a streaming meeting, all you need is the link. You can be there.
Oh, but he's saying set it up at two locations at once.
No, you
Can you share presenters so you can
Yeah.
split?
if I went to that Catholic church or wherever else and set up their computer, if they needed help setting it up, they could watch us. Just like you could here, at the house, anywhere. You only need to set it up in one place, and then
Like
you
mystery
find the link, like a mystery school. And you just tune into the link like the other participants on it.
But can you share presenters so that
Yes.
you can get?
Yes, that's a new feature this year, that you can flip it. If the other person wants to say, hey, I'm so-and-so, this is I would like to talk with you with eye contact and all those things in a virtual way. Yeah. This is when I talked about the field trip, what that looks like. This is a monitor in the front of our lobby. Our home and school bought that for us a year and a half ago. And we use that for Twitter Tuesdays, Twitter Thursdays. The other 3 days we have pictures of, pictures that the parents took, streaming like a slideshow on this monitor. But when you walk into the lobby, this is like the focal point. But Tuesdays and Thursdays, you see the live stream of all the tweets happening between parents, teachers, things that I'm sending. So you know as soon as you walk through the lobby what's happening in the building. If you're a fourth grade teacher walking down the hall, you know what the second graders are doing, so you can reference, in your lesson, you can reference building the background knowledge and the constructing upon prior learning just because of something that you saw on the monitor. There's again, this is another blog about, elaborates a little bit more on what we did there, but that really makes it real. That really, makes it important. That's really just the info on our Twitter site, where you can find it, what the link is. That's the family engagement site. It's pretty comprehensive, has a lot of things on there. And yeah, we have 475 followers. I think maybe 150 or 200 of them are from our school. Other people may just follow, and that's okay.
We're gonna have a few more after this, I think.
Yeah. But for the folks that don't have Twitter, and there's a lot, it's still growing. You can embed this anywhere. You can embed this on a traditional website. You can embed it anywhere. So if you're, this is the way I let all of our parents know, Hurricane Sandy, we're not going to have school. Boom, I tweeted it. It goes right to the front of the website. It goes right to their Facebook accounts. It goes right to all these things. It didn't cost me any money. I just tweeted it, And if you embed it in places where people are looking already, then you can use that for a lot of different ways. Okay, this is what I was referring to about checking the Twitter during the day and then getting to the dinner table and kids' look of surprise when their parents know what they did in school that day. No, but again, the goal, the vision is have a connected, transparent, and collaborative learning environment. And that includes everybody at your school, includes the kids, includes the custodians, the secretaries, the principal, the parents, the teachers, growing together in the same direction.
And you picked up the 3 words the fellow said earlier this morning, tell me about.
Yeah.
Tell me more. Yeah.
Good segue.
And this is so great too, because one of the things we talk about is teachers need to help parents engage, and one of the most important things parents can do is talk about schools. One of our tips is give them something to talk about. So this is a perfect example of giving parents something to talk about. So.
And sometimes we send questions out too.
Yeah.
And then because it's embedded on their Facebook page or whatnot, then they can kind of comment down. What was your favorite part about the Fall Fest? Or your kids learning about hurricanes. Name all the facts at home. So then you have, while people are home and being stirred up because there's just only so many things you can do at home with your kids for 5 days in a row. That seemed to be the issue down where we were. We had parents and teachers and kids looking up facts and trying to make some kind of academic out of a situation where kids were home and whatnot.
I'm also thinking too,
if you had a group of 5 parents and you've got one parent tweeting, and they're out having coffee together, and they can go, oh, this is going on right now at the school, it would bring the other ones in as well.
Yeah.
That, I mean, just like anybody else, peers,
Yeah.
people in like positions, like jobs and roles in this world, if you see somebody, oh, I'd love to do that, I'd love to be able to do that, you know. This, real quick, is it like 12 o'clock, they're gonna say goodbye?
well, I
Okay.
mean,
All right,
it's
all right.
2 minutes.
All right, real quick.
so-
This was, if anybody heard of Ed Camp? It's like a grassroots teacher movement where it's really teachers teaching teachers in unconference style. You come and you decide to lead a discussion. And it's not like come bring your PowerPoint and present. It's like really let's talk together. I wish we had more time for that today. But Ed Camp comes in Napa Elementary. I basically flipped the default on our traditional professional development for teachers and offered them options of different sessions and they could sign up for. Use Nikhil Goyal as our keynote. He's the student voice. He's got a new book out, One Size Does Not Fit All. I'm not sure if you've heard about that at all. Nikhil Goyal. You'll hear his name a lot in the future. But he's got this student voice movement going that we probably should be listening to our students tell us what is good and not so good about education. They have kind of a good perspective there, right? So this is him keynoting us. This is my staff. And them signing up for where they wanted to go. Customizing the sessions for them, designed for them. We're going to try this with parents, have a parent camp in February this year. And you're all welcome to come down if you want to, absolutely. Probably in the next 2 or 3 weeks you're going to see more PR on it. But if parents can come in and they can learn about how to support their kids at home and talk about whether we want to start a family blog, we want to learn Twitter. We want to know what is good reading strategies to use with your kids. On all these different topics you can probably think of right now that would be great to have them come together and have their own conference about it. You know, at your school, nobody pays, it's all free. But if you have people from neighboring, they want to make a little donation to your home and school, your parent group, it could be there's some potential there. We don't know about the money and all that stuff, but we may be. I'd rather have parents come and donate money for that than have a candle sale. You know, I mean, this is good stuff. This is the conversations that we want to be having anyway. Again, that menu grown over time. This is a slide right out of our back to school night, because at the home and school meeting we said, one of the parents said, Joe, I'm really trying all this technology. Are we supposed to do everything? And I'm just like, there's no way, it's a menu, but stressing that, because people don't necessarily know that. They see all these tools you're using, but let them know that there is a menu. Don't do everything. You can't eat everything on the menu. Just a couple things that work for you, and just sharing out what these might be. So this is a post that kind of talked a little bit about that. Next steps, things that we're working on, down the road, Skyping, often more Skyping. The parent camp I just talked about, having maybe a weekly chat. The TMS Hawk Chat is one down in Texas that Carrie Jackson does with her families. And just trying some of these things, but really utilizing the data coming in and ideas that other people share for this. Online, and these are all linked up, CP, Connected Principals Chat, Ed Chat, PT Chat. I hope they'll connect with every one of you after this. PT Chat is on Wednesday nights. And that's how I connected with several of you in the room, is because we have a conversation every Wednesday night between 9 and 10. It's about something different. And it's about real challenges in the field with homeschool, building homeschool partnerships. And a bunch of us are on there every Wednesday, and it's not just Wednesdays. You can access us at any time. Lastly, George Kouros is one of my favorite principals, and he has helped me transition my role. I'm not a principal, I'm a lead learner. That's what I am. I'm a lead learner for my students, for my parents, for my teachers. And if I ever feel like I know it, or I'm good, or I have it, then I shouldn't be in my role anymore, because you just never stop learning. You never stop trying to meet the challenges, because the challenges are always moving along. Finally, the parent perspectives. This is what our parents say about social media. I can keep up with events and activities, and I'm able to follow along with what is being taught in class. Easier, more shared educational sites, better relationships with teachers that I might not have gotten to know in passing a school, and another way to recognize positive things families and staff are doing for kids. This is a bumper sticker that we gave out to our families this year. Again, it's a pleasure to be in Canada here, and thanks everybody for coming today. I appreciate it.
not a wonder principal? I'm telling you. Thank you so much, Joe.
Thank you.
I know I was madly tweeting and there were so many ideas coming out, I couldn't keep up with them all. So now you're gonna have to catch up with all the tweets
Okay,
we've been
check it out.
talking about.
I'll check it
So
out.
thank you once again. I hope you'll hang out for the rest of
I'm
the
here,
day.
yeah.
Lunchtime, so go grab something to eat and you're welcome to chat with Joe afterwards and we'll get back together at 1 o'clock for the panel.
Thanks, Jay.
again.
Thank you.
Yeah, there you go.